What can you see from your window? I can't see anything from mine. Flags on the side of the highway and scripture on grocery store signs. Maybe 18 was too early. Maybe 30 or 40 is too. Did you get your chance to make peace with the man before he sent down his angels for you? Mamas and grandmamas love you, 'cause that's all they know how to do. You never planned on the bombs in the sand or sleeping in your dress blues. Your wife said this all wouldn't be funny when you got back home in a week. You turned 22 and we'd celebrate you in a bar or a tent by the creek. The baby would just about be here. Your very last tour wouldn't be up. But you won't be back here all dressing in black, drinking sweet tea from styrofoam cups. Mamas and grandmamas love you, 'cause that's
Well, y'all, how's it going out there in Hardin County, Kentucky, and all of Kentucky and all the United States? Y'all, let me know how your day has been. Got anybody on here tonight besides myself? This is the Hillbilly Think Tank coming at you live from Tunnel Hills here in Hardin County. I'm Spencer Keck, and I am running for magistrate in Hardin County. So, y'all, you haven't seen what's going on in the news today. Let's catch up a little bit and then talk about it.
Max Rose describes Donald Trump right now as he tries to spin a spiraling war that has led to the deaths of 8 U.S. service members and more than 1,200 people across the Middle East, including more than 100 children. Gas prices are right now $3.58 a gallon. That's according to AAA. And today, a leading lobbying group for American farmers is warning of a shortfall in crops and rising prices if the war continues. As for Donald Trump and his administration, they still have not settled on a single set of messages to explain why we're at war right now, what our goals are in the war, or how long they think it will take to achieve those goals and how long the war might last. Writing for the veterans group Vote Vets, Max Rose writes this, quote, "There's a Bay of Pigs quality to all of it, not in a tactical sense. Our military is executing with extraordinary professionalism. The parallel is in the dynamic. A president surrounded by hawkish advisors who tell him it'll be quick. The people will rise up and you'll be a hero. JFK learned that lesson the hard way in 1961. Donald Trump is learning it now. There's brand new reporting in the New York Times today that reveals that Donald Trump and his team did indeed massively miscalculate how Iran would respond and react to the attack. From that report, quote, on February 18th, as President Trump weighed whether to launch military attacks on Iran, Chris Wright, the energy secretary, told an interviewer he was not concerned that the looming war might disrupt oil supplies in the Mideast and wreak havoc on energy markets. Some of Trump's other advisors shared similar views in private, dismissing warnings that the second time around, Iran might wage economic warfare by closing shipping lanes carrying roughly 20% of the world's oil supply. That is precisely what we're living through. That is exactly what has happened and what is happening. Oil prices have soared as Iran seizes control of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran today shooting at 3 ships near the strait. These pictures show the aftermath of a strike on a Thai ship. And there are indications that Iran is now placing mines in the strait to deter any ships from passing through it. CENTCOM said in a post on X yesterday that they struck at 16 mine-laying ships. Team Trump's response to the threat to shipping has been shambolic at best. Energy Secretary Chris Wright, the one who, according to the New York Times, said last month that a war with Iran would not impact oil supply, claimed yesterday in a tweet that the U.S. Navy escorted an oil tanker through the strait, only to delete that post a little bit later. Donald Trump today threatened Iran with, quote, death, fire, and fury, end quote, if the oil supply is threatened. Then today he told reporters that shipping companies should just, quote, use the strait. That's after he told Fox's Brian Kilmeade that ships should, quote, show some guts and just go through the strait.
Well, y'all, again, this is the Hillbilly Think Tank, and I am the educated hillbilly, Spencer Cat. No, that's not an oxymoron. Don't call me a moron. Now, y'all, I have been through the straits that we're talking about. In the first Gulf War, before I was a hospital corpsman, I was a deck seaman. And so I got my first combat action ribbon, actually escorting ships through the Persian Gulf, through the Straits of Hormuz, through the areas that were heavily mined in that first Gulf War area. And we came close quite a few times to hitting mines. When we came back from the war, if I remember correctly, we had somewhere between 14 and 16 mines painted on the side of our ship. That's how many we sent EOD out from our ship to put explosives on it and destroy so that the mines would not hit us. And they came very close to hitting us. One night, in fact, after a day of dodging mines, coming close to hitting about 4 or 5 throughout the whole day, which meant we went to Foreign General Quarters quite a few times. 2 ships got hit that night. Yeah. So this Captain Bone Spurs telling merchant vessels to get some balls and go through there. He's never been in terror on the high seas. This is absolutely just ironic hilarity that he would have the gall to say that when he's never, ever put his life on the line for jack shit. So, yeah. The fast frigate that I was on, we were used because we had a very large sonar dome. The front lower portion of our ship. Yeah, I just cannot believe that this guy really thinks he knows anything at all about naval operations. Boggles my mind. So, what is the plan? I mean, we had a plan. We locked down the Gulf waters when I was in the first Gulf War. This is just boggling my mind. So today, Iran's military command said on Wednesday today that the world should be prepared for oil to hit $200 a barrel. Remember, we're already right now at over $100 a barrel. My wife filled up her 4-cylinder pickup truck with about $52 worth of gas today. I think that was around 16 or 18 gallons? Yeah. And she's using a 4-banger. Like I said, I've got the EV vehicle. She's got a 4-cylinder. And yeah, we can expect the prices to go up. I don't think that Iran's wrong telling us to expect $200 a barrel, because 3 more ships came under attack, and you see some were hit in the blockaded Gulf, and the 3 ships that came under attack were actually British ships. So, man, look at that. So Iran also fired at Israel and targets across the Middle East on Wednesday today, demonstrating that it can still fight back and disrupt energy supplies, despite what the Pentagon has described as the most intense U.S.-led Israeli strikes yet. It also hit 3 British cargo vessels today in the Straits of Hormuz. Wow. All right. Hey, we got copycats on here saying, hey there, copycats. So I am absolutely just perplexed. Is anyone in the U.S. really listening to this buffoon? Do we really think that any merchant vessel is going to listen to this president telling them to sack up and go through into that area where there are mines? There were so many mines back in the first Gulf War that Iran had placed there, to defend itself against Iraq, to mess with us. Yeah. So it's just absolutely, there's no planning here that's worth a crap. Like we just heard on the news, this guy is surrounded by hawks, but I call them chicken hawks because they have no freaking clue what real naval operations are about. And he's surrounded himself with yes men. Surrounding yourself with yes men will always get you in trouble. So that's where we're at now. We also know that the Justice Department said Thursday it is reviewing whether FBI interview summaries that include allegations against President Donald Trump were improperly withheld from public release of Epstein-related documents. The review follows reports that 3 FBI write-ups were listed in official indexes but not included in the files released under the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Now, y'all, as we look at these 2 stories, and they say people try to tell us they're unrelated. Well, this is the Epstein cover-up wars, what this is. And I don't have any investments in petroleum, but we all know of a 19-year-old that has $30 million he invested in petroleum. And when these prices go up to $200 a barrel, well, he's going to not only have doubled his investment, he's probably going to triple it. And about 70% of Americans feel that Barron Trump should be drafted into military service in the Middle East. I'm one of them. Now, the Justice Department said Thursday it's reviewing whether the FBI interview summaries that include allegations against President Donald Trump, like I said, were properly withheld. But also, it's been announced that the lady who was 13 to 15 years old when Epstein trafficked her. It's now been reported that a South Carolina newspaper can corroborate much of her story. And she talks about Trump being one of the many men that physically and sexually assaulted her. So I don't think the bombing's going to stop. I think it's going to be bomb Iran, bomb Iran. Oh, wait, no, it's not a Beach Boys song. That was Barbarann, wasn't it? Always thought it was bomb Iran. No, Barbarann. Well, guys, we're looking at the elites that we've been told to hate forever, covering their keisters while telling us that they're not the elites that we should be hating. Yeah, that's just them pretending. They are the elites that we should be truly working against. Vote them out. That's all I can say. Vote them out. Start from the bottom up. You know, tonight I had the honor of going to a meeting and hearing Logan Forsyth talk about his campaign for U.S. Senate. And he has got quite a story, and it is quite one of knowing what it's like to live in poverty as a child, all the way up till reaching adulthood, making his way to being the first person in his family to graduate from college, becoming a lawyer, joining the Secret Service, serving honorably in the federal government, and now he wants to run and is running for the Senate. He wants to replace Mitch McConnell. He told me tonight that he would actually come on this show and let us hear what he has to say. Look forward to that. We've got some really great candidates. So we need to all take some real serious time, listen to all these great candidates we got. We've got Logan Forsyth. We've got, as you know, Vincent Thompson, who I've had on here before. We've got Colonel Pam Stevens. I believe Amy McGrath is running again. I heard that she was in Elizabethtown recently. I was out of town, didn't get to hear her. Logan was also in Elizabethtown, just the same. Actually, Radcliffe, not Elizabethtown. They were at the Radcliffe Mayor's breakfast on Saturday last week, but I was out of town, so I didn't get to go to it. But people did get to hear them, and I've heard their messages so far. Colonel Pam Stevens, I've heard her a couple of times, very impressive. Heard Logan Forsyth tonight. Absolutely, he's on his game and he's a fighter, as well as the Colonel. And Vincent Thompson, he's been on this show a couple times. Great candidate. So we have some really good people to choose from. Once we tack down who it is that we're going to have in the Democratic Party as our candidate, we've got to go for everything we can do to win and to shut down the Epstein class. Again, it's not about left versus right anymore. It's about what is truly honorable and decent and bringing justice to America. The Epstein elite should not get off with all the atrocities that they have committed, and they should not be able to make trillions off of this war. Over $1 billion a day we're spending on these wars, and it's making some people rich. All right, Copycat says, I doubt it unless they somehow have insurance. Talking about, right, the ships. They're not willing to go through the Straits of Hormuz. Yeah. So are we just going to keep on bombing Iran and thinking that's going to do something? Because it's not after a while. All we're going to do is spend billions per month And unless this president really is planning on sending in troops, we can't bomb our way out of some things like he thinks we can. And I don't want to see any troops sent into Persia. I was in the first Persian Gulf War, and that was enough. I was also in Afghanistan. I was glad to be there after the attack, defending our nation. But our foray into Iraq was a quagmire. We didn't do what we could have and should have done in Afghanistan: get in, get the mastermind of the attack, kill him quickly, and get out. We stayed there far too long, had more casualties than we ever should have, one of which, as I said, was my brother, who lost his leg and hand there. And we're now the 12th of March. 2 more days will mark the anniversary. It's been 12 years since he was found by my dad on the 14th of March. So I'll never forget that. And I was thinking of him as I played the introduction music here earlier about being buried in your dress blues. And thinking right now also about our Kentucky Sergeant Pennington from Glendale, who's buried. I don't know if they're burying him as dress blues, but honoring him tonight. All right, y'all. That's what we got to do. It is our job. We've got to vote them out. Vote for folks who stand for our real Kentucky values. Here in this county, I'm just really blessed to be living in the county and the state where we believe in united we stand, divided we fall. And I will stand with you against the voices that would pit us one against another. Because here in Hardin County and all of Kentucky, we know that we must have a strong vision for our county's future, because strong counties make a strong state. And I'm going to keep on fighting for regular folks here in Hardin County who pay their taxes, work hard, love their families, and love their neighbors as themselves. Stuff our mamaws and papaws taught us, that adulting stuff. We didn't have anybody to hand us $30 million to put into petroleum and triple our money because our daddy started a war. We're not the Epstein class, but we are the working class, and we are the honorable class. So y'all, please vote for me. District 3, Hardin County Magistrate. And y'all, remember that it is a blessing to live in this state where we know that we're united because we love our neighbors as ourselves. We are our brother's keeper. We are our sister's keeper. And y'all, remember everyone deployed overseas tonight, tomorrow, and this whole time that this debacle's going on. We can't forget what they swore to do for us, which is to protect our Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. So, bless your corazón. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll be back here tomorrow.
I'll prove myself in cold cases. Maybe things can go back to the way they were.
The way things were was distracting.
Barbarann!